Hello, Mr. Natural from Mr. Natural's Music School in San Francisco. So we're studying numbers, or a numbering system, also known as intervals, and we are using a device called an intervalometer, which is just a ruler, and we've been studying the harmonic theory based on these number patterns. In Harmony 1 and in Harmony 2, I explained mostly the diatonic. We explained this wheel, which is the wheel of thirds, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, which gives us the spelling, the numeric spelling, for every chord known. Then we took triads, or three-note chords, built them up off of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We built chords, three-note chords on top of that. And then we noticed when we played them with these generic integer numbers without any changes whatsoever, that the first chord was always a major chord of some sort. The second and the third chord were minor chords naturally. The fourth and the fifth were major chords naturally. The sixth was a minor chord, but the seventh was a diminished chord. And we learned how to modify these so we could make them all sharps or all flats, make them all major chords, make them all minor chords by altering. And we noticed that when you alter them, you're only altering the third. The fifth is perfect. The relationship of the outside notes is perfect everywhere except here and here, because the diminished is a double minor, and the third is small, and the fifth is small. So in order to make these all this minor, I would have to put a sharp in front of the number 4. And now this would be a minor. We also learned that if I wanted to make all major chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major chord, all I had to do was make all the minor chords that are in here, including this one now, major by raising up the middle note. So if I put a sharp here, we have 1 major, 2 major. That would be a 3 major chord now. Leave that one alone. 4 major, leave that one alone. 5 major, raise this one up. 6 major, that one's already raised. Raise this one up, so it's now a major third. And now we have a major chord. Now these would all be major chords. 1 major, 2 major, 3 major, 4 major, 5 major, 6 major, and 7 major. Vice versa, if I want to make them all minors and have 1 minor, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 minor, again we change the third. So we take the natural spelling, take the major, make it minor by putting a flat. Leave the minor alone. Leave the minor alone. Take the major, make the third flat. Take the major, make the third flat. Leave the minor alone. And in here, get rid of that third. So now we have all minor chords. And so by taking the natural state or default state of the scale, and then noticing the outside notes are pretty much frozen, by changing only the third inside, I can change this from a major to a minor chord. Have all major chords or all minor chords. So that's where this all starts. Now, in jazz, we do the same thing, except we extend the triad out one more step, which in jazz is known as the interval of the seventh. And it turns out there are 2 different kinds of sevenths. There's what's called a major seventh, which is 11 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And there's a minor 7, which we call a flat 7. And it turns out that the major 7s come up twice, and the minor 7s come up 5 times. So the minor 7, or the flat 7, is the more common 7. So most things, or most writings, start with that. And what we do is, if we take this pattern for a 1 major 7th chord, it's 1, 3, 5, 7. For a 2 major 7th chord, 2, 4, 6, extend it one more to 1. for a 3 major 7th, or actually it's called minor 7, we take 3, 5, 7, 2, etc., etc. And as we do this spelling, taking every one of these one more step in the wheel, we're adding in a 7th to that thing. And now the quality of the chord and the type of chord that they're asking for is dependent on either adjusting the natural minors, high or low, or take the thirds, or taking the 7ths and adjusting them to be natural minor 7ths or natural major 7ths. And by adjusting the thirds, we can get any kind of major or minor that we want. And by adjusting the 7ths, we can get either a major 7th or a minor 7th sound out of that. And we can spell a chord with just the root, altering the third, and altering the 7ths. The third and the 7ths are known as the shells, and they're the most important because they actually determine whether it's a major chord or a major 7th chord or a dominant chord or a minor 7th chord, but just the third and the 7th. So if we learn to look at the default state and then adapt with sharps and flats, whatever we need, we can then change this natural state to any spelling that we wish. And we'll study that more later. Right now, this is still a major chord, but with the 7th, it has a major 7th, which is only one chromatic tone away from coming back to 1. So if I have a root, like 2, and I go down a half a step, that would be the major 7th away. If I'm looking at something like F, and I go down to E, that's one chromatic tone, so that E would be the major 7th of the F chord. What we do here is we have minor 7ths, or what I call flat 7, flevens. Flat 7 or fleven, as you can see, happens more often. This is still a minor chord, but now it has a minor 7th as well. This is still a minor chord, the 3 chord, but now the 2 becomes the minor 7th of the 3 chord. So these are still natural minor, all the way up to the 7th. The 4 chord is major, and when we add the third is only one half step away, 3 is only a half a step away from 4, therefore it's a major 7th again, it's bigger than these other 7ths, and it's a major, major, just as 1 is a major, major. Then when we look at the next major chord, the 5 chord, what happens is when it adds the 4th, the 7th, this number 4 is 2 half steps away from 5, so it's actually smaller than the major 7th, it's a minor 7th, and this creates a different kind of 5 chord called a dominant 5 chord. And since this flat 7 happens more, it dominates harmonically. So the flat 7 dominates harmonically when you have a major chord with the 7th on there that way, the flat 7, you have what's called a dominant chord. And again, this 5 is the only thing in the entire scale which is naturally dominant. Then when you look at 6, it's minor, it's still minor, and when we add the 7th to it, it's a minor 7th, so it's a natural minor 7th chord, just as the 2 and 3 are. And then here we have the diminished chord, and then this 6th coming in is a minor 7th below, and that's not the definition of a full or total diminished chord. That 7th, being a minor 7th, is actually too big for a diminished chord, so we call it a half diminished chord. The bottom 3 notes create a diminished chord, and this is a normal minor 7th away, so it's a half diminished chord. And we'll get used to the spellings on all of that stuff later. So the idea is, whenever I see any kind of a 1 chord, I just automatically put down these 3 numbers. Anytime I see a 4 chord, I put down these 4 numbers. Anytime I see a 6 chord, I put that down. I see a 2 chord, I write these out. And these are all coming from this spelling wheel, which I have in my head, and can rotate forward or backwards up to 4 notes easily. And then I can If they ask for a minor chord here with a minor seventh, I know I have to flatten that and flatten that. So I'm going to have 1, 3 flat, 5, 7 flat. I can alter it from its natural state into what they're asking for. So the first thing that I do when I number music is I go through, use this generic numbering scheme. Then I go back and say, are they asking for a major seventh chord here in the first position? If so, leave it alone. Are they asking for a 2 major seventh chord here? If so, I have to alter it. And then the question is how? And we'll do that more in the next video. Now just a little demonstration of the seventh chords on the slider.